Welcome to The Explainer. You've probably seen them, tucked away in the corner of a convenience store or a gas station, glowing away. A crypto ATM. Seems harmless enough, right? But these machines are actually at the center of a huge storm, one that involves heartbreaking scams, citywide bans, and a really intense debate about what our financial future should even look like.
And to really get a feel for how serious this is, just let this sink in. This is a quote from a police detective on the front lines of this thing. This isn't just about losing some money in a bad investment. We're talking about lives being completely and utterly destroyed. The human stakes here are just devastatingly high. And for so many of these tragedies, the trail leads right back here. Not to some high-tech trading floor, but to a lonely, glowing box in a shadowy corner. Today, we're going to unpack how these simple-looking machines became the perfect weapon for criminals to just vacuum up people's life savings, often in a matter of hours.
Okay, so let's zoom in. Our story really gets going in Spokane, Washington. This is where one detective started noticing a disturbing pattern, a new and frankly a particularly cruel kind of crime that was quietly sweeping through his community. Now just look at this number, $900,000. That's how much one single man lost, his entire life savings. He fed it all, piece by piece, into one of these crypto ATMs because a scammer had him convinced it was the only way to solve a terrible problem. But he wasn't solving anything. He was literally sending his entire future into a digital black hole. So how are they pulling this off? Well, what Detective Schwering discovered was that this wasn't some sophisticated hack. No, it was all psychological warfare. You had the romance scams where a criminal pretends to be a lover in trouble overseas, or you get the government impersonators, someone pretending to be from the IRS threatening you with jail time. They prey on our deepest fears. They target the lonely, the elderly, and they convince them that depositing cash into this machine is their only way out. But the reality? That money is gone, forever, sent instantly to places thousands of miles away where it can never be touched.
All right, so you're a cop. You see this happening, but the bad guys are ghosts. You can't arrest them, so what do? Well, if you can't win a game, you change the rules. And that's exactly what happened next. A police investigation turned into a full-blown political movement. Detective Schwering tried, warning the public, putting out alerts, but it just wasn't enough to stop the financial bleeding. The criminals were untouchable. So he shifted gears. He went from trying to enforce the law to trying to change it. He raised the alarm. And luckily, a councilman named Paul Dillon was listening and decided to champion the cause. The result? The Spokane City Council voted unanimously to ban every single crypto ATM in the city. And just like that, Spokane did something huge. They couldn't solve international crime from their city hall, but they could protect their own backyard. It was a powerful, direct, and decisive move, making them the biggest city in the U.S. to just say, nope, not here. But what happened in Spokane didn't stay in Spokane. Their ban basically blew the lid off a much bigger national question. It's a debate that's now happening all over the country. Are these machines a dangerous trap that we should get rid of? Or are they actually a necessary tool for people who are left out of the financial system? And to get a sense of just how big this debate is, you have to see this. A whopping 80% of all the Bitcoin ATMs on the entire planet are right here in the United States. This isn't some small niche issue. America is, for better or worse, the global epicenter for this technology.
And the for worse part? Well, it's adding up at an alarming rate. According to the FBI, this number, $240 million, is how much was lost to these specific scams in just the first 6 months of 2023. That's almost double the rate of the year before. The problem is getting bigger, and it's getting bigger fast. Which brings us to the big, obvious question, right? We see the massive risks. We know other countries, like the UK, have pretty much banned them. So why is America just absolutely blanketed with these things? What's going on? Well, it really boils down to two completely different ways of looking at them. On one side, you have the critics who say these things are a scammer's dream. The transactions are fast, they're irreversible, and they're perfect for fraud. But on the other side, supporters say, hold on. These machines are a vital bridge. They're a simple on-ramp for people to turn cash into crypto, especially for the millions of people who don't have access to traditional banks. And industry leaders like Alex Davis make this point. They argue this isn't really about the machine itself. It's about financial privacy. The question, he says, is, do we really want a future where every single dollar we spend is tracked, monitored, and controlled by some gatekeeper? They say these ATMs serve the underbanked, and that those high fees you see aren't just profit. They're a premium people are willing to pay for privacy and immediate access.
But here's a twist. What if this entire debate, tool versus trap, is missing the real story? Some experts are now arguing that the reason we have so many of these machines in America has very little to do with crypto and everything to do with some much deeper problems in our own financial system.
According to Professor Lev Brito, the U.S. is basically a perfect storm. One, we have a massive population of underbanked people who are shut out of normal banking. Two, we already have this huge pre-existing network of check cashing spots and payday lenders where these machines can just plug right in. And three, unlike a lot of other places, our regulators have been pretty tolerant, letting these things pop up everywhere. So here's the crucial takeaway. Maybe these machines aren't the disease. Maybe they're just a symptom. A mirror reflecting these deeper cracks in our financial system, a system that leaves millions of people searching for alternatives, and in that search makes them incredibly vulnerable. And that brings us right back to the beginning, to the heartbreaking human cost of it all. Detective Schwering tells the story about a woman who lost $250,000 in a romance scam. And even after her family stepped in and proved to her it was all a lie, she kept sending money. Why? Because, as the detective puts it, you get to a point where it's just too painful to believe it's not real. So that's the thought we're left with. Spokane took bold action to protect its own. But the conditions that allowed these scams to thrive in the first place, well, they're still out there. And it forces us to ask a tough question. Is a city-by-city ban just a Band-Aid, or does the real problem lie much, much deeper in a financial system that's leaving too many people behind?